Day will not save them, and we own the night. Let the galaxy burn. The Horus heresy stands as the defining tragedy of the Warhammer 40K verse. A galaxy-spanning civil war that pitted brother against brother, Primarch against Primarch, and ultimately son against father. At its heart lies the confrontation between the Emperor of Mankind and his favoured son Horus Lupercal, a duel that left the Emperor critically wounded and confined to the Golden Throne for 10 millennia. This pivotal event raises a crucial question. How could the Emperor, a being of immense psychic power and seemingly boundless strength, be so grievously injured by Horus, even corrupted as he was by chaos? Greetings all, I am your guide the Archivist. Today I will dive into why the Emperor was so badly injured by Horus, even if he's a perpetual. Before we begin, please make sure to like and subscribe waypoints down below, so that more people can learn from the archives. To understand the Emperor's defeat, we must delve into the details surrounding his nature, Horus's empowerment, the circumstances of their duel, and the subtle yet crucial factors that contributed to the Emperor's near-fatal injuries. It's a complex tapestry woven with ambition, betrayal, faith, and the insidious influence of the Chaos Gods. The Emperor of Mankind is arguably the most potent psychic entity in the galaxy. Born millennia before the age of technology, he is a perpetual, a being capable of resurrection after death. Throughout history, he subtly guided humanity, nudging it towards progress and safeguarding it from the predations of the warp. By the age of technology, he revealed himself, embarking on the Great Crusade to unite humanity under a single banner. His power stemmed from several sources. Firstly, his status as a perpetual grants him an innate resilience and an ability to regenerate from even the most grievous wounds. Secondly, his psychic abilities are unparalleled. He could manipulate minds, project his will across vast distances, and unleash devastating psychic attacks. Thirdly, his strategic genius and tactical acumen allowed him to lead the Great Crusade effectively, conquering countless worlds and forging a vast imperium. However, despite his immense power, the Emperor was not infallible. His physical form, while incredibly resilient, was still vulnerable to physical harm. More importantly, his greatest strength, his psychic might, also presented a vulnerability. The warp, the source of psychic power, is a chaotic and dangerous realm. An overuse or misdirection of psychic energy could have devastating consequences. Horus Lupercal was the first and arguably the greatest of the Primarchs, the Emperor's genetically engineered sons. Possessing charisma, strategic brilliance, and martial prowess, Horus was appointed War Master, the supreme commander of the Emperor's forces during the Great Crusade. He was beloved by his brothers, respected by his troops, and considered the Emperor's most trusted confidant. However, this position of power made him a prime target for the machinations of chaos. During the compliance of Davin, Horus was wounded by a corrupted artifact, opening him to the influence of the Chaos Gods. Through subtle whispers and carefully orchestrated events, the gods preyed on his ambition, his pride, and his perceived grievances against the Emperor. They offered him power beyond measure, the chance to reshape the galaxy in his own image, free from the tyranny of his father's vision. Horus succumbed to this temptation, embracing the power of chaos and turning against the Emperor. He became the vessel for the combined might of the four Chaos Gods, Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh. They amplified his physical strength, honed his combat skills, and imbued him with devastating warp-based powers. He became a being of immense destructive potential, a weapon pointed directly at the heart of the Imperium. The culmination of Horus's rebellion was the Siege of Terror, a brutal and protracted battle for the fate of humanity. Horus led his traitor legions against the Imperial Palace, unleashing the full fury of chaos upon the Emperor's domain. The fighting was relentless, the casualties staggering, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. As the siege progressed, the Emperor realized that a confrontation with Horus was inevitable. He understood that Horus, empowered by chaos, posed an existential threat to the Imperium and humanity itself. He resolved to face his fallen son, to break the chains of chaos that bound him, or to strike him down utterly. The final confrontation took place aboard Horus's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. The Emperor, accompanied by Rogel Dawn and a contingent of custodies, teleported onto the vessel, seeking to confront Horus directly. However, Horus, anticipating this move, lowered the ship's Geller field, a protective barrier against the warp. This effectively exposed the Emperor and his companions to the raw unbridled power of chaos. The battle was fierce and brutal. Horus, infused with the power of the Chaos Gods, unleashed devastating attacks, forcing the Emperor to fight to his absolute limit. He wielded a power the Emperor had never faced before, a concentrated manifestation of the warp's destructive energies. The Vengeful Spirit itself became a weapon, its corridors twisting and shifting, its very reality warped by the presence of chaos. Several factors contributed to the Emperor's near-fatal injuries. Foremost was the immense power granted to Horus by the Chaos Gods. He was no longer merely a Primarch, he was a conduit for the raw destructive energies of the warp. This gave him a significant advantage in the duel, allowing him to inflict wounds that would have been impossible for a normal Primarch to inflict. Secondly, lowering the Geller field exposed the Emperor to the full force of chaos. This weakened him, forcing him to contend not only with Horus but also with the insidious influence of the warp itself. The chaotic energies disrupted his psychic abilities, making it harder for him to defend himself and attack effectively. Thirdly, the Emperor was hesitant to unleash his full power against Horus. He still held a flicker of hope that he could redeem his son, that he could somehow break the hold of chaos and bring him back to the light. This hesitation, this internal conflict, prevented him from using his full psychic potential, giving Horus an opening to strike. Finally, the Emperor understood that Horus was not just a single individual. He was a focal point for the Chaos Gods' influence, a linchpin holding their plans together. Killing Horus, while a tragic necessity, was the only way to sever their connection to the material realm and prevent them from achieving ultimate victory. During the battle, Horus struck a near-fatal blow. However, this wound was not the one that crippled him. The death blow fell when Horus was poised to strike down a weakened Custodes. With a surge of clarity, the Emperor realized that Horus was beyond redemption. With a final act of heartbroken resolve, he unleashed the full force of his psychic might, obliterating Horus's physical form and banishing his soul to the warp. Obliterating Horus's physical form and annihilating his soul entirely. The victory was Pyrrhic. The Emperor's body was shattered, his spirit hanging on by a thread. Rogel Dawn recovered his broken form and brought him back to Terra, where he was placed upon the Golden Throne. This ancient device, originally intended to unlock the secrets of the Webway, was modified to sustain the Emperor's life and amplify his psychic power. From the Golden Throne, the Emperor's consciousness continues to guide the Imperium, a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. He maintains the Astronomicon, a psychic lighthouse that guides ships through the warp, and holds back the tide of chaos. However, his physical form remains trapped, sustained only by the constant sacrifice of thousands of psykers per day. It is our opinion that the Emperor was so grievously wounded by Horus because of the conduit for chaos that Horus became during the climax of the heresy. It's easy to forget just how powerful Horus had become at the climax of the Siege of Terra, and the fact that the Emperor was able to succeed at all against the combined ascendant power of all Force Chaos Gods undivided, channeled through one demigod-like figure is a heroic feat in itself. Horus's power was so great that reality itself was bending around him. Our belief would be with the lowering of the Geller field, the warp space realm that the Vengeful Spirit became empowered Horus further while distracting and weakening the Emperor. The field favoured Horus and allowed chaos to use their power unbridled through him. Ultimately, this may have led to his defeat as the Emperor finally saw that he could no longer hold back in hopes of saving his son and that he was truly lost. However, Horus's power rose every moment as more warp energies were channeled through him. and even though the Emperor was able to obliterate Horus' body and soul, the effort almost destroyed the Emperor in the process. Considering that the Emperor is far beyond an alpha-grade psyker, and able to wield psychic power that is beyond the comprehension, let alone the abilities of other psykers, including but not limited to being able to affect the immaterial realm with his mind, break the earth, warp reality to alter his appearance, teleport, control minds across vast cosmic distances, and destroy other beings with the sheer might of his psychic will, the fact the Emperor was so grievously wounded by Horus, despite having almost immortal levels of regeneration and healing, suggests to us that the Emperor's soul itself could have been greatly injured, thus damaging his very being and abilities to the point of near death. The Emperor's wounding at the hands of Horus was a tragedy born of ambition, betrayal, and the insidious powers of chaos. While the Emperor possessed immense power, Horus, empowered by the Chaos Gods and fighting within the warp-infused environment of the vengeful spirit, was able to overcome him. The Emperor's hesitation to unleash his full psychic power, coupled with the strategic necessity of severing the Chaos God's connection to the material realm, ultimately led to his downfall. The details surrounding this pivotal event in the Warhammer 40K verse highlight the complex and often paradoxical nature of power, the corrupting influence of chaos, and the enduring consequences of betrayal. The Emperor's sacrifice, though devastating, ensured the survival of humanity, albeit in a grim and war-torn galaxy. The eternal vigilance from the Golden Throne remains the last bastion of hope against the darkness that threatens to consume all. And so I have now covered the content for this video, but if there's anything that has been missed, please share them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like and subscribe waypoints down below. In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war.